what could this team do? So in honor of some personal problems that I'm having in my life right now, because my bank can't get its you-know-what together, we're going to play a game. And also because I thought this is something Mike Tomlin would say. Yeah, like for some reason, my card keeps getting declined, even though I have plenty of funds in the bank. It's a problem on their end, and they can't figure it out. I got money in the bank.
Gridiron episode 55. Sean's broke.
And speaking of getting the party started,
for the victory lap though. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I should overcome, what for? Train in the trees, please pardon my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross man's end. Stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Switch gears, with keeping haters in the rear. After blood, sweat, and tears, and my goal so near. I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. It's a day, we break through. 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 It's a day, we break through.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast that's equal parts grid and equal parts iron, where we talk about Formula One and football exclusively, hence the grid and the iron. It's the Gridiron Podcast, episode 55. I'm Sean Barie. Joining me always, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, up in the left-hand corner, the man who's fixing his shirt tag and also flexing.
No, I was fixing my FB. The bald behemoth.
The bald behemoth, Nick Shook. Yeah. And then up in the right-hand corner, again, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, our Canadian queen holding down the fort in Kimberley, British Columbia, Katie Caldwell. Guys, how we doing?
The Carlos Sainz episode.
It is the Carlos Sainz episode. Why didn't I say that? Katie, you're always ahead of the ahead of the curve here on the Gridiron Podcast.
I really just wanted to not have to answer the question of how are we doing this week? The vibes are not vibing this week, but we're doing our best.
This is a vibes-based podcast, though, and we're going to vibe along. If you're new here, how we do this is we break down the week that was in the NFL, come up with our own little wacky topic. Please chime along in the comments. You can email us at the Gridiron Podcast 3. That's the Gridiron Podcast 3. Damn those other two at gmail.com. Nick could throw up, there we go, the actual email on our lower.
Sorry, my hands are full.
Stop fixing his IFP.
You're kidding me. You can see it.
Dude, it's just hanging there. You okay?
Yeah, I got a new one, and the cord is extremely long because my old one broke in the middle of a show. And like the cord is legit like 15 feet long. And in order to get it to actually like hide the curly wire, you got to put it like in between your shoulder blades. And that's a hard area to reach for most people, including myself.
Being that we've all had experience on TV, I've kind of abandoned the IFB cord, which, again, if you don't know what an IFB cord is at home, it's that little like curly cord that you see like in news anchors' ears and like on CIA agents' ears and stuff like that, or Secret Service, whatever that is. They're very uncomfortable. And Nick has a 15-foot long cord for some reason. Mine's like,
you gotta see.
Mine's like stretchy. Mine's like only like 4 feet, but it stretches.
Yeah, how much cord? It's already wrapped up.
That's a lot of
cord,
cord, Nick.
Cord I'm dealing with here.
That's a lot of cord. That's a lot.
John
of
and
cord.
I just wear headphones for the podcast.
I know. I just kind of look.
It feels
cool,
very
okay?
easy.
And when I'm out in the field, I don't even wear an IFB anymore because AirPods are louder. Not an ad for AirPods or Apple, but it's just louder. When I'm in a stadium environment doing a live shot after a Bucks game, I can hear better.
Yeah, I get a delay on my Bluetooth headphones I've found, so I go with this for the line in. So the most, the quickest relay, I guess.
I gotcha. All right, episode 55 of the Gridiron Podcast. We're going to start off with Week 10 in the NFL. Nick Shook, our resident NFL.com talent writer. Here's how we're going to do this. We're going to start this new segment called Nick's Rapid Reactions. I'm just going to run down the gauntlet that was Week 10, give the final score for each game, and Nick is going to give his bullet point thought. Katie, if you'd like to play along as well, you can. But this is just for the sake of time at this point, just so Nick can give us some funny commentary here. Starting off, Thursday night football. Bengals, Ravens. Ravens win this one 35-34, and which started a trend this week of very, very close games. Nick?
Holy crap. What a freaking game. Joe Burrow is awesome. The Ravens are good. The Bengals kind of blew it, but what a game.
Cool. Starting off with the Sunday 1 o'clock slates. Well, I guess this wouldn't be the 1 o'clock slate. It was 1 o'clock in Munich, in Germany, in Deutschland. We had the Panthers beating the Giants in overtime, 2017 in the Allianz Arena in München.
Bryce Young continues to grow with baby steps. Daniel Jones still kind of sucks.
Baby steps, as in full pun intended?
No, I'm not making a short joke there.
I think you did. I think he was.
No, small growth. Small
All
growth.
right.
Keep playing him.
The 1 o'clock, the real 1 o'clock slate back here in the U.S. Patriots 19, Bears 3.
Wow, the Bears offense stinks, and they fired their offensive coordinator, Shane
so
Waldron,
bad.
today. So, yeah, bye. Happy trails, Shane Waldron.
Yeah, don't let the door hit you on the way out of Chicago. Bills 30, Colts 20.
Joe Flacco experiment not working. Sorry, not working.
Did he run out of magic beans in Cleveland or leave them there or something? It's the
No,
Cleveland
Great
tap
Picks says
water.
yes. It is, actually. I'm drinking some filtered tap water right now, but I do get mold growth in my shower. And, well, we live next to a freshwater lake. There's a lot of microbes in there.
I don't know what it is, but Cleveland tap water can cure almost anything. It's magical, including
hard to
AIDS
clean
on
your
a
bathroom.
football field, apparently.
Yeah.
Chiefs 16, Broncos 14.
Oh, the Chiefs. Everything just goes their way.
That's all you got?
Yeah, I mean, they freaking blocked a field goal that should have been an easy chip shot for Will Lutz to win the game. Like, they should have lost. And yet, the Broncos played well enough to win, and they lost. I felt bad. Bo Nix played really well. Felt bad.
I saw a stat. There's been like over 200 field goals this season attempted from 35 yards or closer. Do you know how many have been blocked?
1.
3.
Who are the other 2?
I don't know. I just heard the stat.
No,
Nick,
thanks.
don't press me with the facts. I just know the stat. I don't know the
You
fact.
find the stat. You got to have the context. My God.
Jeez Louise, ruining the
Pretty
segment
without
here.
the
Saints 20, Falcons 17?
Oh, the Saints are back. Darren Rizzi clogged his toilet and got a win as an interim head coach. Let's go, baby. Flush that, Falcons.
What is the story behind that?
Anecdote to that game.
Yeah, Darren Rizzi, after they won the game, the interim head coach told reporters, look, all right, here's how my day started. I went in the coach's bathroom and the head coach's locker room. First time I've ever been in there. Decided to use it. I clogged the toilet. So I thought this is going to be a crappy day, pun intended. And then they won. And his face was just as red after the game as if he just walked out of there forcing that poop out.
Jesus Christ.
You can always tell these interim coaches are not meant to be head coaches by their reaction to like their first win. And that reaction just proves to me like, yeah, this is an interim coach right here.
Oh yeah. Dan Campbell
This
did it
is an
once.
interim
He
coach.
gives special teams vibes for sure.
Oh yeah. They're
He
the craziest
couldn't
of the
give a
bunch.
crap.
Yep.
Down here in Tampa Bay, 49ers 23, Buccaneers 20. I tell you what, Deebo Samuel may have choked their kicker, but Jake Moody didn't when it mattered most.
I feel bad for Baker Mayfield. Sorry, Baker, you played your ass off. I wish your team around you was a little bit better. But Brock Purdy carried the day. Good job for you, Brock. Way to figure one out there. Niners get a big win.
It's not even he needs a better team around him. The team needs to be healthy. Wait, this stat, Nick. I do have this stat, and I do know the context behind it because I cover the team. The Buccaneers receivers had 28 yards off 11 targets and 4 catches on the day. The receiving core had 4 receptions.
Yeah, who led them in receiving and receptions and yards, Sean?
Could be Kate Otten.
Nope, Rashad White. 6 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown.
Jeez.
Yep. Even the Kate Otten machine didn't work. 5 for 35.
No. All right, Steelers 28, Commanders 27. You sensing the theme here of one possession games?
Yeah, and you know what I'm going to say? It. Some idiot got on Twitter and was like, the NFL product is cratered, and he's been getting crushed for it since he tweeted this out. If you watch the 1 o'clock window, you're just flat out freaking wrong. Okay, these were some great games, and this was a phenomenal game. This is not a rapid reaction. Steelers get the most Steelers win in the Steelers way that they can.
Thank you.
I mean, they bottle up Jaden Daniels. Russell Wilson throws a desperation pass on 3rd down to Mike Williams for a touchdown. They fumble away possession on the goal line. This is the Steelers in a nutshell, baby. Get by the skin of their teeth. They win another one.
By hook or by crook. That was a good game, though. That was a good win. I'll take it
Great
as a
game.
Steelers fan. Vikings 12, Jags 7.
Pass. As in, don't let Sam Darnold and Mac Jones pass the football.
Oh.
Hello, Sam Darnold that we all knew and love.
Yep.
Can we put
All right,
down
Chargers,
the Jaguars?
The Jags. Bunch of
The
Jags.
Jags.
Chargers 27, Titans 17.
The Chargers have graduated from charging. They Katie, this has to warm your heart a little bit. They know how to win football games. Just they're not flashy, but they just get the job done. They're just like their coach, Cotton Dockers. That's my recap. Cotton Dockers Chargers, baby.
It warms my heart a bit, but at this, like, I can't decide still if I'm a bigger Chargers fan or a Jim Harbaugh hater. So
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I did think that when Nick's like, you got to be happy. I was like, she might not be.
Yeah. Internal conflict.
A lot of weird feelings about that one. Not a big Harbaugh guy.
Right.
No.
It's the, you know who the Chargers remind me of? The Steelers, but also the Chiefs. Like, they're just winning football games by any means necessarily.
They do have a lot of
They're
Steelers
doing
in
it.
that.
They're changing the narrative around them. This next one, not a one possession game. Eagles 34, Cowboys.
The late window, for as great as the early window was, the late window was atrocious. Dallas.
Speaking of windows, get some curtains for those windows.
Yeah, there it is. CD
Some
Lamb.
blinds too.
This is an open touchdown pass because he can't see the ball because he loses it in the sun, which is at setting level. But because of that stadium's design, it's in his eyes. Dallas.
But as Jerry Jones said, they knew where the sun was going to be at least a year in advance.
Oh,
Definitely not like thousands of years in advance, but 1 calendar year in advance. They knew where the sun was going to be.
This Cowboys losing streak brought to you by the Farmer's Almanac.
I like how this has become the narrative around this crap of this crapshoot of a Cowboys team. Not the fact that Dak Prescott's not going to play another game this year. He's on IR and he's going to have season-ending surgery. Not that, Cooper Rush just seemingly has regressed so much as a backup quarterback, even that they're throwing Trey Lance out there just for some sort of excitement. But at the same time, we're talking about the sun being in CeeDee Lamb's eyes. Like, that one touchdown was going to change everything. Like, that's what we're talking about with this Cowboys team.
The
sun. The roster is in disarray. They're paying too much money to Dak and CD. And, oh, by the way, you still have to go sign Micah Parsons at some point, who, by the way, is trashing his team every chance he can get, either in the locker room or on his own podcast. This is just a dumpster fire organization.
Yeah, I can't hate on it. I mean, like Dak was caught saying on camera in their loss to the Falcons, quote, "We fucking suck." That's true. End quote.
And for you counting at home,
show me the lie.
One curse word here on the Gridiron Podcast. Nick, there's your one.
I know.
I borrow mine if you'd like.
I'm usually pretty tame here.
I know.
I wasn't at the last 2 episodes. Can I?
You can have as many as you'd like, Katie. As many as you'd like. Of course.
Roll over. Yeah.
You're the Canadian queen. Cardinals 31, Jets 6.
Kyler Murray's awesome, and Aaron Rodgers and the Jets suck.
That's great rapid reaction. Sunday Night Football. Lions 26, Texans 23.
Texans, how could you let this one slip away? By the skin of the football. 2 field goals. Squeeze inside the upright. Jake Bates, what a dog.
Our Super Bowl prediction game.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, and as I was watching that game, I thought of that, Katie. And when the Texans were up 23-7, I thought, I'd love to see this again in February in New Orleans.
If that was the Super Bowl, like Jared Goff throws 5 interceptions, comes from, 14 points down, 21 points down, I would love that Super Bowl. That would be a great Super Bowl.
It would be the third best Super Bowl I've attended, because the first best was probably Chiefs Eagles, and the second best was Chiefs Niners in the 2019 season.
I kept looking. I feel like I was squinting right at the Texans sideline, and I was like, "Is that Bill O'Brien?" It's a very Bill O'Brien type loss. Very Bill O'Brien type.
They were legit one slightly underthrown CJ Stroud pass away from winning that game. Like, he saw Tank Dell so open so late, and he just rushed his throw and left too much under it. Otherwise, they probably win that game.
Stroud
Dolphins,
and Goff
23.
were having a mid-off in that one. They're good quarterbacks, but they were having a bit of a mid-off in that game.
First half, Stroud was great. Second half, Stroud very mid. And the
week
opposite is
10.
true for Goff.
Everyone's afforded a mid-off at some point. Anyway, Monday Night Football, Dolphins 23, Rams 15.
Puke. That game. Ugh. Turnovers. I thought the ball was greased at one point in the first half. Just when you think the Rams are figuring it out, they go back to being the shitty Rams. Oh, no, I broke my allowance. Here's $1 in the jar.
That's okay. You can have mine.
Why is Tua making tackles like that? Like, what?
Thank you.
I feel like I want to pull my hair out. What? Like, I'm cheering for
Don't do
him.
that.
I, like many people, wish just that him as the person would retire for his own health and safety. And then I watch moments like that, and it's like, what are we doing here? And I know I'm not the only one that had a visceral reaction to that hit, but like,
Or if you're going to tackle,
I have no words
don't
for
lead
it.
with the crown of your helmet.
Oh, that's good, Katie.
No one should be doing that, let alone Tua.
Least of all, Tua Tagovailoa. All right, that's
Again,
Nick's
fire me to the
and
sun.
Katie's.
It's one of those weeks.
That's Nick's and Katie's rapid reactions. Guys, this week to just further break down stuff, we're 10 weeks into this season. We've still got 8 more to go. But at the same time, we're starting to see some teams either make things interesting, separate themselves from the rest of the pack, or some teams just start to kind of creep up there and make you think, what could this team do? So in honor of some personal problems that I'm having in my life right now, because my bank can't get its you-know-what together, we're going to play a game. And also because I thought this is something Mike Tomlin would say. Yeah, like for some reason, my card keeps getting declined, even though I have plenty of funds in the bank. It's a problem on their end, and they can't figure it out. I got money in the bank.
Gridiron episode 55. Sean's broke.
I'm not.
Breaking
I promise.
news.
I mean, I'm not
rich?
broke, but like I can pay my auto pays. Like for some reason, it's like, hey, I almost wasn't able to get out of a parking garage yesterday because my card kept getting declined.
That deserves the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme.
Finally, like it opened. I'm like, what's going on? I can't pay my agent right now because I couldn't buy Lando's dog food, and we're figuring it out slowly. But they have no idea what's going on. So
cashless society,
my big takeaway was you're not broke.
I'm slightly.
Nice.
As I tell
In this
people, I
economy?
make the medium bucks.
Ooh, nice.
I make the medium bucks, guys. All right, so we're calling this one fraudulent activities. So we're I'm going to name a team, and you guys are going to decide if the team is fraudulent or if the check clears. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start off with the Cincinnati Bengals sitting there at 4-6, lose a heartbreaker on the road in Baltimore. But this is a team where you're thinking, are they starting to figure it out?
Katie, would you like to go?
Or Katie, excuse me, Chivalry.
This is one of the best 4-6 teams I've seen in a while. Like, I think they outplayed the Ravens twice, arguably the Chiefs. Their defense to me is a really glaring weak spot, but their offense is so good that a lot of the times they can kind of mask that. I don't love their schedule coming up. They have to play the Steelers twice, but honestly, like, they're a team that they are just so much better than their record. And I could see the winner of the Bengals and Broncos in week 17 being the determining factor of who gets that final wildcard spot. But yeah, the Bengals, best 4-6 team I've seen in a long time. And so in this case, would they be a fraud because
No, the check would clear because you're saying they're going to continue to progress. Yeah. I didn't explain the rules well, but again, this is all Tomlinism stuff. So check clears.
Check clears. Oh yeah.
The rules are made up and the points don't matter. I agree with Katie. This check clears. Sufficient funds in the bank. She's absolutely right. They are one of the better 4-6 teams you'll see. Honestly, if you look at their schedule, I mean, their first 3 losses were by 1 possession. They lost to Baltimore by 1 possession and a grand total of 4 points combined in their 2 meetings. They have only had 1 blowout loss, and that was to the Eagles 3 weeks ago. They've beaten the Browns, the Giants, the Raiders, and the Panthers. 4 teams they should beat, which makes you think, maybe they just can't get the job done against real teams. But we go all the way back to week 1 when they lost to New England, which was just strange. But again, very indicative of a Zach Taylor-led Bengals team. They always start slow. The only problem is, Joe Burrow's expression after their win over the over the Raiders in week 9 kind of said it all. They don't have time to waste. Like, there's no time to light victory cigars when you win a game, because you got to stack them now because of the hole that you dug yourself in. That's what made that loss to the Ravens so painful, and it worries me because it could be a turning point. It will test this team's intestinal fortitude. Can you bounce back and get up off the mat after a crushing loss to the Ravens like that and beat a Chargers team that is on the rise before the bye week? Or do you lose 2 in a row and you're soul searching at 4-7 and essentially you have your backs against the wall in which you have to win out to have a shot at the playoffs? Because that's tough. Pittsburgh, Dallas, Tennessee, 2 of those 3 games I expect them to win. Cleveland, I expect them to win. Denver, Pittsburgh again. 3-3 there gets you to 7-10 if you lose to the Chargers, which means you're missing the playoffs and you're exactly where you were last year. So let's hope that that's not what happens to them, because the pressure is on. But like Katie said, this offense is fantastic. Joe Burrow threw for 428 yards in that game. He threw 4 touchdown passes, 264 yards and 3 touchdowns to Jamar Chase. I had a buddy text me today and he goes, should I do this trade involving giving up Chase? I said, are you an idiot? No. If their defense can figure it out, even a little bit, they will make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Check clears.
I'm calling the fraud department.
Reasons why this Chargers game is really, really interesting, because I'm excited to see them go up against that Chargers defense. Sean, you're calling them a fraud?
I'm calling the fraud department. They've dug themselves too big of a hole. I'm not saying they're not talented. I'm not saying that offense isn't great, but sitting there at 4-6, realistically, you have one more loss to play with. Anything more than that, and you risk not making the playoffs. Even at 10-7, you risk not making the playoffs. The math ain't mathin'. I'm calling the fraud department. Fraudulent. All right. Next up, let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys. My team, 7-2. Russ is cooking. They beat the team everyone thought was going to put them in their place in Washington this week. Nick, as you said, by hook or by crook, they did it in the most Steelers way possible. Mike Tomlin has that team humming. So I ask you guys, fraudulent or did the check clear?
I think it clears. I do. I'm such a Mike Tomlin fan, so I've felt very validated these last few weeks, but it just looks different. It's nice that they're less dependent on their defense and Chris Boswell to win games. Like, Russ doesn't have to be the star of the show, but the offense with him definitely has a better flow to it, which I was on team, why are they putting Russ in? And then we see what's happening. It goes, oh, this is exactly why. And my Seahawks heart does get a little nostalgic when I see a Russ moonball, and I have to really reel myself in with that. But like, there's a part of me that I think my jaded Seahawks fandom comes out where, like, I've seen him have a really, really amazing first half to the season. He's MVP talks and all these things, and then it totally crashes and burns and falls off. But honestly, like, Mike Tomlin keeps showing us why he's one of the best coaches, if not the best in the NFL. They have the coach, they have the defense. I say this eating my words. They have the quarterback. It's all working for them. What else do they really need? Like, the Mike Williams was a great addition to George Pickens. Like, they're a fun watch now. In the first half of the season, I just felt really uninspired by their quarterback situation. Not frauds.
Totally fair. Yeah, totally fair. I'm with Katie on this. The check clears, but if they weren't 7-2, if they were 4-6, I'd put them in the fraud group, because Russ hasn't quite been cooking, Sean. He's been good in the second half. He's done enough to lead them to victory, and the moon balls are there, and that's what Justin Fields didn't bring to the table. But he's not at that level that people thought he was 3 years ago, which is fine because they're still winning football games. But against elite competition, which is Washington elite, who knows? I just feel like they win because they're a good team, not because of Russell Wilson. He is playing relatively well, but every time I put out the QB index and the top 10 graphic comes out, everyone's like, where's Russell Wilson? He's not a top 10 quarterback, guys. He's a middling quarterback who's doing a good job in key spots. Like, the touchdown pass to Mike Williams was classic Russ, but the pass before it where he just missed Darnell Washington over the middle was also current Russ. Like, it's very up and down, but their team is good enough that it covers up for that inconsistency, and he's still playing better than most expected. So the check clears on them.
Listen, the past couple of years, it's not like us in Steelers Nation have been asking for a Michelin star chef, right? We're just asking for a capable line cook, somebody that knows their way around a kitchen more than pressing buttons on a microwave, which at times I don't even think Kenny Pickett knew how to do that. I don't even think he could make easy mac at some points in the season. So he's doing what he needs to do, and you're right, this is a good team. Of course, I'm going to say the check clears. I mean, if you would have told me we'd be sitting here at 7-2, 10 weeks into the season, headed into this gauntlet, you said, elite teams, when they face elite competition, they're about to, because they've got the Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Chiefs. It's just it's a mess from here on out. So we're gonna see. But 7-2, and you're looking at, hey, even if you go 500 from here on out, that gets you into the playoffs. So
yeah,
7-2 still does feel wild. Like I think they're good, but 7-2 still feels too high for where they're playing right now.
They've kind of, if you look at their schedule, I mean, they beat Atlanta in week 1. They beat Denver when Bo Nix is making his second career start. They beat the Chargers with a hobbled Justin Herbert. They lost the Colts and the Cowboys. They beat the Raiders, who suck. They beat the Jets, who suck. They beat the Giants, who suck. And they beat the Commanders in a close game. They don't really have a signature win yet. And that gauntlet is showing up. So there could be room for regression to the mean. But I still think they make the playoffs, which means the check clears.
Yeah. All right. Next up, after the Steelers, we've got, this might be a hot take. You're going to yell at me.
This was.
Okay. I'll take it. The Chiefs.
No.
The 2-time defending Super Bowl champs, sitting at 9-0. And I'm asking you, fraudulent, or is the check clear?
They're not. They haven't looked 9-0. No question to me.
This is why we have this conversation.
To the Chiefs, I know I'm not the only one frustrated by this. There's a certain dark magic to them that frankly just needs to be studied, because it just, when one area of the team, like offense or defense or special teams, like if one of them is letting down or has a tough matchup, like the others do tend to come through, but it hasn't looked dominant and it hasn't always looked super exciting. But there's something about the Chiefs that just, no matter what, they figure it out, and they're defying all these stats, and they're not leading games until the end. And I don't know, I just feel a bit over it with the Chiefs. Like, it just feels like no matter what, they're just going to keep winning, and they're going to make it, and they're going to win the Super Bowl. And I'm feeling a little like Patriots-esque, where I'm like, let's just move on to someone else, please. But yeah,
suck?
like,
it sucks when a team like just comes in and they're like dominant in like the most uninspiring ways, and you're like,
and you can't explain why.
They have a weakness, they can be beat, and then nobody does it.
And then nobody does it. That's exactly it. This isn't the most solid team I've ever seen them have. They do have their weaknesses that can be exploited, and nobody's doing it in a way that they're winning games against them. I'm just feeling very over the Chiefs right now. So yeah, I don't think, they're not frauds. They're probably going to win the whole thing, even though they probably won't be the best team this year.
Katie would like to simulate to the next season, please. The check clears. They're 9-0. People have told me for the last 2 months that Patrick Mahomes doesn't deserve to be near the top of the QB index because he's having a bad season. He has more interceptions than touchdowns. Actually, he's playing pretty poorly. His numbers are way down, and yet they keep winning because he is the most frustrating quarterback to play against in the NFL, because it's 3rd and 5. And he's going to find a way to get that first down. And they're going to go on 13-play drives. And they're going to end up in the end zone, or Harrison Butker, unfortunately, is going to make field goals. And they're going to keep tacking points on the board. They were the most vulnerable they've been all season in this game since the loss to the Bengals. And they still won. Look, right now, statistically, they are the number 10 offense in terms of yards per game. They're 9th in passing. They're 21st in rushing. They have somehow duct taped, and bubblegummed their way through the running game with Kareem Hunt while Isaiah Pacheco's been out. They average 23.8 points per game, which is outside of the top 10. Their average possession time is 24.3. It's still outside the top 10. They lead the league in time of possession. Average time of possession, 33.01. That's how a lesser team wins a game on the road against a better team. Ball control, except they do it every week, and they're still pretty talented, and their defense is still pretty good. So the check clears, even if it's not impressive. Football doesn't have to be pretty to win, okay? Like, yeah, we're 25 years removed, or maybe 15 years removed from great defenses winning championships, but it doesn't mean that it can't still happen, and they're finding a way to do it.
Are you saying defense doesn't win championships, Nick? Is that what you're saying? Because if you're saying
defense travels usually, but in this offense-leaning NFL, it is hard to win a championship with defense, unless you're last year's Chiefs who won a championship with defense. So
Classic.
they're frustrating as hell.
I'm saying the check clears, but I'm saying it's also been noted. Like it's been flagged. Like, all right, like I'm gonna pass it through. I'm gonna pass it through. I don't know why you're buying gas in Wyoming when you were in Florida yesterday, but okay. I mean, maybe you flew out there yesterday.
We trust you.
Okay, yeah. But if I start seeing some like weird charges pop up on there, I'm gonna crack down and I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna freeze everything. It's one loss. You understand this? One loss, one bad loss from this team, and we are going to start calling them the 2020 Steelers.
No, I'm not.
Who would do that?
Sean.
Irrational people with a microphone. Hello, do you watch sports media these days? Come on.
Ugh.
Me, I'll do it.
Ugh.
Moving on. Let's do two more. I've got three on the list. Let's just do the next two. We got the Chiefs. Let's stay in division. The Chargers. Fraudulent, or does the check clear?
Katie, Harbaugh hater, take it away.
I'm a very proud Harbaugh hater. Their defense is one of the best in the game right now. And their offense is exactly what we thought it would look like under Jim Harbaugh. It isn't super flashy or super exciting, and they're running the ball a ton, but then you still have Justin Herbert if you need to sling it down the field. They haven't really beaten a great team yet. Like when I look at their wins, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Saints, the Browns, the Titans, like I'm not too worried about them. Like the Steelers, they have the QB, they have the coach, they have the defense, but I need to see a decisive win over a good team. So I just don't quite know yet. I still don't feel like they're fraudulent, but I feel like you with the Chiefs where I'm aware of it. I just need to see a bit more from them because I don't quite trust them yet against a really, really high-powered team.
That's totally fair. And the schedule is about to get really tough. They play Cincinnati, Baltimore, Atlanta, and Kansas City their next four. Then they play Tampa, Denver, New England, and the Raiders. Two of those games, I guarantee you they win, and they're the last two. And if they lose every game prior to that, that's an under 500 season. So we're going to learn a whole lot about Jim Harbaugh's Chargers, which, by the way, that's how they announce them at the games now. Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers in the next month and a half. I'm gonna say their style of football indicates a winning team. Justin Herbert's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But when they don't run the ball well, their offensive output is low. Their defense is physical, but I think it's playing above expectation. I'm gonna put them in the fraudulent group.
I like that.
Okay. Okay. I respect it. I feel like I'm watching a Jim Harbaugh-led Michigan Wolverines team. Like I feel like I'm watching Blake Corum and JJ McCarthy and that dominant defense, and I hate it. But for that reason, I can't call them fraud. So I'm going to say for now, the check clears. That could change later on in the season due to insufficient funds and a losing streak. Last one, guys. How about the Cardinals? Fraudulent, or does the check clear?
I went back and forth with this one. Kyler Murray is so fun to watch right now, and that's really great.
He is.
Their division is not good, and I didn't think it would be this bad.
Yeah, who had the NFC West being like the mediocrest division in football?
Thank you, Niners.
Right? Yeah, they're kind of having a mid-off within that division, but their defense has really surprised me this year. I still kind of worry they might be a year away, but I love how they're playing. I think Jonathan Gannon is a very, very good coach, and it looks like they're playing at their ceiling right now. But yeah, like looking at their schedule coming up, they have Seahawks twice, Patriots, Panthers. Like they have some winnable games coming up. Man, it felt so good to watch them hammer the Jets like that. Oh my God, that felt so good.
The Jets, we're back. Kyler Murray, the F you are.
Yeah, exactly. Kyler Murray is he's so fun. The defense looks good. Like the Cardinals are watchable and that's exciting. And they've got really fun pieces like Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. And like they've got the pieces that make them watchable. I just don't quite know if they're there yet this year, but they're playing way better than I anticipated. So I don't think they're frauds, but maybe just because my expectation of them was quite low going in. So to me, They've exceeded that. No frauds.
Yeah. Check clears because they've already gotten a few wins that I didn't expect them to get. They dominate the Rams. They beat the 49ers in an incredible comeback effort. They beat the Chargers in the last second win. They beat the Dolphins in the last second win. They dominate the Bears and the Jets. They're beating the teams that you are supposed to beat. They go into the bye week on a 4-game winning streak. Kyler Murray coming off of an incredible performance. They come out of it against Seattle, who I think is we'll leave that for later because, Sean, we have some bonus teams coming up. They play Minnesota, which will be a test. They play Seattle again. Then they play the Patriots, Panthers, Rams, and Niners. And they should win at least half of those games, which means they're right there in contention in a division that has no clear leader. Now, the 49ers finished the regular season strongly. They always do. They're great in the back half of the season. I think they'll be there as well. But they do end the season.
And they're getting healthier every week now.
But they do end the season with them. And I could envision a scenario in which the division comes down to week 18 in Arizona against the Niners, with Kyler Murray being one of the stars of the show. I think their defense is playing well because of their coach, who is a former defensive coordinator. Patrick Claybon nicknamed them the search bar defense on NFL Daily on Sunday night because every time a player makes a play, you have to look up that player. And that is the sign of good coaching. It's not talent. It is good coaching. And that usually carries over for the most part. Now, against superior talented teams, sometimes that falls apart. But they'll be in the mix. And because of that, the check clears. They'll be in the mix. We'll see if they get there.
I'm saying they're fraudulent. But that doesn't mean, if you've never seen the movie Catch Me If You Can, the fraudsters can't get pretty far. This almost reminds me of like Green Bay kind of last year, because I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of sneak their way into the playoffs, maybe even win the division, and then win a playoff game. And suddenly the Arizona Cardinals, like the Packers, like the Bucks last year, are in a divisional round. And like, how did that get here? But they're still fun to watch. But for now, I'm going to say they're frauds, because I don't expect them to go that far. It's just a winnable division. And for that reason, they're frauds. We have bonus teams, Nick?
We have bonus teams, Sean.
Why was I not made aware of this?
You left a couple out, and I just threw them in there as I was making the lower thirds before we started the show. Sean, fraud alert here. Fraud check, if you will. Denver Broncos. Katie.
Oh.
I don't think so. They're way better than I expected. And Bo Nix has really settled into that offense. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Broncos way more than I thought I would. I think they're in the mix, and I didn't think they'd be there that quickly. I don't think they're frauds. The Broncos are one for me that, like, I'm keeping an eye out the rest of the season, and their defense is looking very good. I like what I'm seeing. I'm excited about the Broncos.
I guess if you're a Broncos fan and if you're a Russell Wilson fan, like you got the best of both worlds. Like, they moved on. They took a giant money bath, but they moved on, and they're better off for it now. So what aren't they? The Broncos right now, if the season ended today, would be in the playoffs as the 7th seed in the AFC, just behind Chargers. Let me look at their schedule coming up here, because
there's that vaunted AFC West that we talked about 3 years ago.
I'm sorry, Nick. Were you interrupting me?
Yes.
Falcons, Raiders, Browns, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. That's a winnable schedule. So, I mean, I'm looking at like definitely 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 wins from here. 9 but does 9 and 8 get you to the playoffs?
It hasn't recently. Not in the AFC.
I was saying
okay.
fraud.
You're saying fraud? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was saying there's that vaunted AFC West that we talked about 3 years ago. As it stands right now,
it's finally here.
Teams are in the playoffs.
Thank you, Bo Nix.
Congrats. I'm going fraudulent as well. And the reason is not Bo Nix, and it's not even their defense. Mina Kimes made an interesting point a few weeks ago that defense hadn't truly been tested early in the season, and they were playing against lesser offensive lines, and that's why we saw them getting a lot of pressure and shutting down opponents. And then they went and dominated the Saints, and they beat the Panthers, which are not good litmus tests either. My issue is that they lost to the Chargers by 7 points in a game that wasn't really that close in week 6. And then they got blown out by the Ravens, a game that was close in the first half, but they couldn't get a stop to save their lives. Ravens ran away with that one. That's the real measuring stick, and you're pretty far off there. And then you lose a game that you should have won against the Chiefs. I feel like they're a year away. And I like what Bo Nix is doing, but he is a rookie quarterback, and they have a lot of youngsters in that receiving core. Devon Vele, Troy Franklin. Their best receiver, obviously, is Cortland Sutton, but like they just feel the running game is not really consistent. Jaleel McLaughlin ends up being the lead running back because Javonte Williams can't stay healthy. Kind of a weird offense. Defense not as good as they played well in the first half against the Chiefs. Nick Benito had a field day against the Chiefs. Just rushing against their left tackle was Wanya Morris. He gets hurt. Kingsley Sui Mataya comes in, and he's not good. Could have told you that at the combine. And ate that up. But they still lost that game. So fraudulent, but rising. Next year is the year, Broncos fans.
I just wonder how different this conversation would be if we were going, yeah, they just beat the Chiefs. Like, I feel like when you talk about week 6 to now, it just feels like they're in such a different place these last few weeks that I didn't necessarily expect them to be. Like, I don't think the conversation would be totally different if they beat the Chiefs, but it felt like they should have and could have. And I don't know, it's a good offense.
It all started down here week 3 in Tampa when they beat the Bucks. The Bucks were coming off that Lions win on the road, flying high, and here's this 0-2 really bad Broncos team coming into Tampa, and they whooped up on a healthy Bucks team. And from there on out, it's kind of been like, oh, well, who's this team?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Nick, who's our next? Who's
our last one?
Yeah, our last one. Okay.
Fraud check. Does the check clear, or are they fraudulent? Seattle Seahawks.
Katie.
They're frauds. And I'd like to our listeners, because we had a woman go in on us after the division preview, which, like, I love that. Talk your shit. I love it. But that we weren't very high on the Seahawks, and a lot of my speaking about them comes from me being a jaded Seahawks fan, but like their hot start felt very fraudulent to me. It feels like they're still a team that's really figuring out who they are. And I don't watch them and just think like, oh yeah, I'm hopeful that they could go into the playoffs and make some noise. Like, it feels like, okay, we can kind of close the book on this season. It just doesn't feel inspiring to me. I love Geno Smith. I love a bunch of their players. It just, I'm not super inspired. Frauds.
1 win in their last 6 games. Frauds. I mean, the alarm was sounded as soon as you started to write that check. Frauds. They've got the Niners coming up on the road. They play the Cardinals twice in a month. They're on the road against the Jets, which, I mean, who knows which kind of Jets they'll see. They still got the Packers, the Vikings. Yeah. Frauds with a capital Frauds.
Yeah, that's like one of those, like you get a check that you cash, but you don't want somebody else to try to cash it again, so you write void over it in capital letters before you get rid of it.
Yes.
That feels like the Seahawks in a nutshell. Sean, you made a great point. 1 win in their last 6 games. The wins that they stacked were against a Broncos team with a rookie Bo Nix, Drake May, and the rookie New England, or the rookie Drake May.
Keep saying that, by the way, like with a rookie Bo Nix. He's going to be a rookie all season, Nick. I just want you to know that.
I know, but I'm just pointing it out. Like, wins
he is
over
going
the Broncos,
to be a rookie this whole season.
I know the Broncos are 5-5.
Now he's a seasoned rookie.
Right.
No, he's not.
So
he played
if a team beats
billion games in college.
He did play a billion games, but he's still a rookie at the NFL level, and he is getting better, but he's still a rookie. Especially in week 1, he was a rookie, very much a rookie. Drake May and the Patriots in week 2, close win. Dominate the Dolphins, who didn't have Tua Tagovailoa, and they played with Skylar Thompson. That was an ugly game. That game was so ugly that they got the ball on the 6-yard line after a turnover, and they got a field goal out of it. That was only points of the day, by the way. They get beat by the Lions in relatively blowout fashion, kind of a back and forth that Lions ran away with.
I mean, when you lose to the Giants,
they let the Giants have the second best game of the year for them outside of their win against the Browns. They lose to the Niners by 12. The one win they've had in the last 6 games was a runaway win against the Falcons because they turned them over on 3 straight possessions in the second half. They get blasted by the Bills at home, by the way. They're bad at home, by the way, which is not a good sign. And then they lose to the Rams. Geno Smith, for as good as he's playing, also turns the ball over a lot because he's just playing with reckless abandon. That's not a good winning formula, and their schedule gets way tougher in the back half. Mike McDonald's imprint on this defense has not really come through yet. They just released the starting linebacker in Tyrell Dotson this week. No info on that. They traded away another linebacker during the season. I'm not on board with this team. As much as I love the Geno coaster and everything that's involved with that, they're not consistent. Kenny Walker goes for 100 one week and goes for like 12 the next week. They're just not consistent. They're frauds.
They're frauds. All right. I think that's enough on week 10 in the NFL. You guys agree?
Yeah.
All right. We'll think of something for next week. If you have a segment idea that you'd like to pitch us, again, you can email us at thegridironpodcast3@gmail.com. That is thegridironpodcast3@gmail.com. Or we're not hard to find on social media, so drop us a DM, drop a like in the comments here. All right, let's shift gears.
Only if
F1.
it's nice. Don't DM us
No.
if it's mean. I get too much
If it's
that
mean,
lately.
Katie will forward it to us and we'll read it, and she doesn't have to process it.
If it's mean, I'm not opening it.
I
I'm
didn't
tired.
say
I'm
be
tired of
mean. I
this.
said send us segment ideas. My gosh.
Oh, by the way, ideas from the listeners. Our favorite friend, Troy Meeker, is back to say, give the people what they want. Bring back, do you even know?
At this point, it's give the person what they want. And that person
Give
is
the
Troy
person.
Meeker.
He also said he had some nice words to say. I do have to say I love the new format. So thank you, Troy. We appreciate you. And we
Trying
hear
to
you.
keep things fun
We
and
see
light.
you.
All right, let's shift gears. F1 has the week off. We are coming off the back of the Brazilian Grand Prix. And we're heading where, guys, next week?
Viva Las Vegas.
As Clark Griswold would say, Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. While he is looking out of a limo at the strip. Yeah, F1's going back to the second annual Las Vegas Grand Prix. We all thought the race last year was going to be a complete shit show because of it being held at 10 p.m. local time in Vegas, which is insane. The cars were ripping the manhole covers off the street because they weren't graded for the downforce that these cars could produce. It was going to be cold because, newsflash, it does get cold in the American Southwest, in the desert, in November, especially in late November. And we just thought this was going to be a complete, shit show. It was a money grab, and it produced one of the best races of the season.
I was so mad that it did because I was such a Vegas hater, especially with it being in
I love
November.
that it did too. We were all haters last year. We were all haters.
know.
So we're not going to talk about the race itself because we could do that next week. But we do, for some reason or another, have a sizable listenership and viewership outside of the U.S., specifically the U.K. and Europe. So if you are an F1 fan and you can hear my voice and you're going to travel to the Las Vegas Grand Prix, or if you just want to go to Las Vegas at some point, the three of us, we've been to Las Vegas. We're going to give you some pointers, some do's and don'ts if you just happen to find yourself in Sin City for the F1 Las Vegas Grand Prix. Nick, you want to lead us off? You guys actually had the pleasure of covering a Super Bowl in Las Vegas last year. Jerks.
Pleasure.
Nick and I met in Las Vegas in person,
Yeah, that was the
even though we
pleasure.
had been
Yeah.
friends
And
for
they-
like 100 years, but we
And
met
they
in
didn't
person.
even get married
so-
at a chapel.
No, we didn't get married. In
No,
a
we
chapel.
did not.
Maybe
Not in that Cheetos chapel. Did you see the Cheetos chapel?
No, I just knew about the
No.
Dorito that you were staying in.
It was close to the Dorito. The
I was
Cheetos.
gonna say I would do
It
a
was-
Cool Ranch sweet Thai chili Doritos chapel.
Yeah. I was walking. I thought maybe like, oh, I guess they've installed this on the Vegas Strip, and then I was walking by on Monday, and they were tearing it down. So it was only there for Super Bowl weekend.
Katie, we could have gotten married and been showered in Cheetos. What a missed opportunity.
Oh, all we can do is learn from it.
Bummer.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
no,
learning,
it
Nick
wasn't.
learned
It wasn't
something.
really. It wasn't a pleasure, Sean. Being in Vegas for 8 days is way too long. That's neither here nor there because it's in the rear view. If you go to Vegas as a international traveler, you're here for all the F1 action on the track. Well, first stop you want to make is your hotel because you got to put your bag somewhere. Might I recommend the Flamingo, located centrally on the strip with a nice pool. Downside,
Don't
probably
stay
won't
at the
be able to
Flamingo.
use the pool because it's November. But if it is open for some reason, they do have one of the better pool parties, them and Drace and a number of other places. And there's nothing like a Vegas pool party, folks. You have a great time. But once you set your bags down, you can go over to the Bellagio and sample the buffet, or you can go to Caesar's Palace and walk through their grand casino. Throw some money down on the craps table. Why not? Play a little blackjack. If you're me, you avoid the sports book at all costs because that will get you fired. But one thing you do, make sure you do, is go into the casinos relatively quickly. If not to bet, to get the air of stale cigars, old drinks, and the oxygen that they.
This whole thing,
supposedly
like I was
put in
just
the
looking for
casino.
like some sort of like tutorial, like, hey, like do this, don't do this, and you're just like going through like the whole gambit. You're like explaining what Vegas is. We know what Vegas is, Nick.
I was vamping. You can pick up from there.
All right, I was
I
going
think
to
this
say
is all very helpful information.
thank you. I don't know why I'm saying thank you. You did have a good point though, Nick, about the buffet. Here's my take on the buffets. get the most expensive one. When you read up on them and like you see like the rankings and they're like, oh, like, this one is the best one, but it's also the most expensive. Yeah, there's a reason.
Bellagio.
Like you can no. Wait, I did not. I thought I went to the Bellagio. No, I don't know if I went to the
Bellagio's the
Bellagio.
most expensive and it's the best one.
I went to the Caesar's Palace. I went to the Bacchanal buffet, and it was phenomenal. It was also like $90, but I didn't care because it was like really high quality. But then I've been to another one. I forget which one it was, and was a little cheaper, and it showed. So, like, spend the money. You're in Vegas. That's what you're there to do anyway. You could take a chance on a cheaper buffet. You might hit the jackpot. You also might be hitting the pot later that night.
Well done,
yeah.
Sean. By the way, Katie, I just want to point out Sean reminding us that he's rich.
Yeah, he makes that medium money.
Make those medium bucks. Katie, what did you learn in Vegas?
As an international traveler, I feel comfortable weighing in on this. I've also been to Vegas traveler? Breaking news, I don't live in America. To the surprise of everyone.
Canada is international.
But I've actually been to Vegas like 12 times. Like I've been there a stupid amount, and I've done some really insane things there that I feel like I shouldn't talk about most things I've done in Vegas.
Same.
Speaking of the Flamingo pool party, one time I was there, I just took myself to Vegas for a weekend as a little one of my many midlife crises trips. And I was at the pool at the Flamingo, and all this commotion started happening. And then the cast of Jersey Shore walked in, and then they just filmed. And this was like when they came out of retirement for that season. And then they were just like walking around, and then Pauly D did a DJ set, and I was like having a great time by myself at the pool party. And then I saw myself in the episode, and I was like, I need to fire myself right into the sun.
I need to find this episode. Nick, we need to find this episode.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
You can't really tell it's me, but because I know what bathing suit I was wearing, I watched that and I'm like, girl, get out of it.
I'm gonna look this up as soon as, guys, Gridiron Podcast Nation, Google it, YouTube it, send us the clip. We're gonna have some fun with this one.
I actually have a Flamingo pool party too. That trip I will not speak of because some major debauchery went down my buddy's bachelor party. But we were in the Flamingo pool day 2, and we were buying pitchers of lemonade vodka, right? Which obviously overpriced, but getting pitchers, bringing them to the boys, pouring cups, and they give you cups with it, right? So after you're done with the pitcher or whatever, you have all these extra cups. So we invented a game where one guy stood as far away as possible from the other guy in the pool with a cup, and then the other guy had a cup, and you would fill the cup up with water, and then you would fling it forward while it was flipping end over end backward, and the other guy would try to catch the cup in the cup. And we got so far apart in the pool and we're making catches that people started gathering in crowds. And the entertainment was not the DJ, who I think was like Marshmallow or the one with the box on his head, one of those two. They were watching us. Like we had assembled crowds for this random flip cup game that we made up. And at one point, my buddy is clear across the other end of the pool and throws it way up in the air. And this whole crowd's behind me. And I'm like lining it up. It falls in and I catch it like this. And the whole place erupts. And they all freak out and start buying us free drinks. So it's a good time, even if the weather won't be the best for it.
That's another tip about Vegas. Be spontaneous. All right. It's called Sin City for a reason. Have some fun within reason.
I say without reason. So I was going to say, because I have a lot of stories of like what you probably shouldn't do in Vegas. Like on my 21st birthday, I flew to Vegas. And I got a 4 a.m. tattoo that I probably shouldn't have. But when I look at it, it's one of my favorite stories about myself because it was so irresponsible. It was so unhinged. And whenever I look at my stupid little foot tattoo that you can't even read what it says because I was buckled at 4 a.m. when I got it. Honestly, when people are like, what does your tattoo say? I'm like, nothing. Just don't even worry about it because you can't read it.
You don't worry about it.
That's a rich part of my personal history. And I just love that things like that exist because I just get too wild in Vegas, which, Nick, I think I was there for like 11 days and I like 0 out of 10 recommend that. I got
that
sick
brings
at the end.
me to my biggest tip, guys. Vegas. 1 day is good.
Crazy.
2 days is great. 3 days, just right. 4 days, you're starting to overstay your welcome. Which is perfect because the F1 weekend is 3 days long.
I'm more curious about what else Katie did.
I know, Katie, can we hear more? Tell me more, tell me more.
I don't even know where to start. I've done so much insane shit in Vegas. Yeah, nothing like I'm going through the Rolodex of things that I've been up to there, and I'm like, no, you don't need to talk about. No, like the tattoo though is one where like, just it feels like the world's ending right now. Anyways, just go get a stupid Vegas tattoo. Go eat a buffet. Go. I wish the pools were open. The parties are fun, but like, do your thing.
Yeah, stay up all night. Like that's the beauty of Vegas. It could be 6 a.m. and if the sun isn't rising, you can't tell. You have no idea. And everybody's going to be somewhere in a casino. You just walk through there at any time and somebody's going to be gambling. The clocks don't exist in casinos on purpose.
Yes.
Intentionally are not there so that you lose track of time. Lose track of time. Just don't miss the race. That's all I have to say.
That is, yes.
Also, honestly, go to In-N-Out Burger. As a Canadian, like it's always a special occasion for me anytime I can go to In-N-Out Burger, get everything animal style. But that would be my big international recommendation as well, food-wise. I know it's a chain. But food in Vegas is like fine. There's nothing like Vegas specific that other than the buffets. But buffets work for me because I like to eat until I hate myself. Buffets are great for that.
I like to eat until I don't want dessert, and then I do not get dessert.
Interesting.
Buffets. If you do happen to go to the F1 Las Vegas Grand Prix, send us some pictures. Tell us your stories. We'll share them here on the podcast. We unfortunately will not be going because we all make this medium bucks.
And
not all of us.
I can't go anywhere.
Okay, Katie's apparently rich. Jeez.
No,
I'm on the small bucks train. There's no medium in my lifestyle right now.
Nope, she's bankrolling our trip. That's final.
Yep. I mean, she's not the Canadian queen. She's the Las Vegas queen now. The official queen of Las Vegas. The tattoo proves it. Anything else to add, guys?
No.
All right. We'll be back next week for episode 56 of the Gridiron Podcast. For Nick Shook, Katie Caldwell, I'm Sean Barie. As always, you can hit us up on email, thegridironpodcast3@gmail.com. I don't know why I said on email, but that's
I was wondering the same.
Damn those other two at gmail.com.
I was doing the emails.
We're doing the emails. Are you guys up there on the emails?
Are you doing those electronic mails?
It's that type of night, guys. All right, guys. That's it for episode 55 of the Gridiron Podcast. As always, live life in the fast lane.
And be sure to book a trip to Vegas with Katie Caldwell.
Happy retirement, Ray Gun.
Yeah. Good night, Vegas.